The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. We got a couple more minutes left. I just wanted to say hello and make sure you can hear everything okay. Hopefully, you're able to hear the music before, and if you're just signing on, hopefully, you can hear my voice. I just wanted to welcome everybody to the third webinar here, and there are two other ones. ACCSC.org has saved the other two. So the full webinar, my slide decks, and the sign-in sheet and the certificate of completion are all up on the ACCSC.org website. The cool thing is you can go to events and webinars, and then all the information will be there. And just like that, all the information today will also be saved to that webinar section on the ACCSC.org website. So if you could hang tight for a little bit, everything should be working a-okay, I believe. Hopefully you can hear the audio. You should be able to sign in and see your control panel. On the control panel, there is a handout section. You should see two handouts. One is a sign-in sheet. That's just for you. I'm not keeping attendance on my end. I don't mind if you showed up or if you have a whole group of you in a classroom showing up. That sign-in sheet is just for you in case you got to your classroom with a group of your instructors and you're like, oh man, I forgot the sign-in sheet. Just print one off real quick. We got that for you. Also in there is a certificate of completion. I believe it's a Word file, so you can customize it to your liking. So you can download it one time and print off 20 copies if you like. And you can, again, save this right now, or you can grab it later on after the webinar. We will shoot you an email. Whoever signed up for the email will get a certificate of completion sent to them as an attachment. And if you miss that email, it's going to be up on the accsc.org website. So hang tight for a little bit. We'll begin here in just a moment. We're catching up to the top of the hour here. All right, and thank you for everybody who's putting in their fourth grade teacher, their fifth grade teacher, their high school teacher. I was asking who your favorite teachers were in the kind of pre-section here. I actually was pretty fortunate. I had a lot of good teachers, and I can remember some of them from elementary school all the way up through high school. And it's kind of neat now because in this day and age, I've actually friends with some of them on Facebook, so kind of keep up with some of them. So very cool. I like seeing my teachers from back in the day. Appreciate it. Let's see. And if you are on the webinar, you should see us at the dashboard. The dashboard, I believe, hopefully this time, if you're on my last one, the questions weren't working, so it was kind of like it was like crickets in here, and it was tough to gauge any questions and stuff. But today it should be working. So if you want to send in a question, or if I ask a rhetorical question or a question in the webinar, feel free to throw in a response. Or if you do have a question, there should be a questions area in your control panel, and there's also that handout section in your control panel. So take a look there if you want to as we wait just one more minute. I see people popping in, so I'm going to wait one moment. Good afternoon, Julie. I appreciate it. Certificate is a PDF this time. Maybe there is a PDF. Let me see if I can. I'll reach out to Chris Lambert, accsc.org, and see if we can share a document file. So if you do need a document file, we'll share that document file up on the accs.org website. I know PDFs are a lot harder to edit. If you have a Mac, I have a Mac, so I could open up and preview and type in stuff there. But I know it's not as easy on a PC computer. So if you have a PC computer, hang tight. You can still print that off. You want to print it off on a hard copy and do it. But if you want to do it in digital form, hang tight. We'll try to get you that document file as soon as possible. I'll let Chris and his crack team know about the PDF and see if we can get it for a doc. I know a doc is a lot easier. I appreciate it. Everybody can. Oh, good. Okay, I'm getting some people saying hello, and then the questions are working. That's good. Is it working? It is. Favorite teacher? Oh, Full Sail University. Hunter Manning. Shout out to him. Let's see. The question was just in before. I usually open up the webinar about 10 minutes before, and there's a little slideshow that goes on. So if you miss that slideshow, that's okay. You get to hear my lovely voice at the morning. Good afternoon, Thomas and Roseanne. Appreciate it. Hello to Houston, UTI in Houston. Fernanda, thank you. Michelle, hello, hello. Rico, everybody, hello. Mary, I'm going to start a trend here. JH, Gary, Pamela, Tim. Dr. Patel, thank you so much. All right, so it looks like we're about two after, so I'm going to just start her up here. And again, if you have any questions, stick them in those things. I'll try to get to them as fast as I can. What I will do though is I'll try to leave some time at the end so I can answer any questions that you might have at the end. And obviously, I'll leave my email address so you can contact me afterwards. As some people contact me, later that afternoon or the next day or over the weekend, and that's perfect. I'd be more than happy to share any resource that I might have or answer any questions after the webinar. All right, so we'll begin here. So hang tight. So today we're going to do our third webinar series webcast, and you don't need to know the two previous ones. This could be a standalone one, but if you were with me for the two other times, I give you props for continuing the trend. We're going for the three-peat here. And today we're going to talk about supporting the vision to avoid the division. And what I have for you today is I'm going to try to go for an ACCSC record of how many teachers I can make cringe at one time. All right, so here goes. Faculty meeting, or if you're admissions, I guess admissions meeting or a career meeting or a staff meeting. All right, so who here had an automatic response of like I don't know, a crinkled nose or a clenching of the teeth, maybe an audible good thing we're on mute, right? And it seems like in my experience, if I say faculty meeting to my faculty meeting, you get like if you looked up faculty meeting, you typed it into thesaurus.com, and you would get waste of time or boring or something that's negative. And what we want to try to do here is change that narrative a little bit. So what I think about, and what I was told from many people, is that when they think of faculty meeting, they think about coming in early, earlier than they're normally, or staying later than they normally are. And this is like an adjunct faculty member, for example. And and they're like, what do we do this for? They come in early, they stay late, and it's so an administrator can ramble through a laundry list of housekeeping items, procedures, make announcements, usually to tired faculty members who need that extra cup of coffee, or we bribe them with like donuts and stuff. I know I've done that in the past. And really, when you think about it, it tends to be, and I'm gonna paint a very general paintbrush or stroke here, and they tend to be not engaging and not productive, and maybe not as productive or not as engaging. It would be a better way to say it. So my first suggestion, and this has worked out very well with myself and some other administrators and academic deans, is to flip out. And no, I don't mean to get crazy or angry, flip out. I mean taking the concept that we often find success with students, the flipped classroom, and applying that same technique to our meetings. So if you might be thinking, well, what's a flipped classroom? So let me just go that very quickly and kind of cover what a flipped classroom is. So if you haven't done this yet, or even heard of a flipped classroom, you want to think about a basic classroom that you might be giving. And I'm going to think back to like we were talking about our old school teacher. I'm going to think about an old school math class. Math class, I would come into class, I would listen to the teacher lecture about geometry terms or whatever it might be, algebraic equations. And then maybe I had a little bit of time to do a worksheet or do like all the odds on page 472. Then I would get home and have to do my homework and then come in and rinse and repeat. A flipped classroom basically takes the homework and puts it in the classroom in the lecture at home. So what happens is, in a flipped classroom, I would have a lecture maybe recorded for me on a website or on a YouTube video. I can watch other videos that would help me understand it. And then when I get to class, I have that whole class period, a majority of the class period at least, to work on the problems. That way, if I get stuck or I don't know, or I'm kind of having trouble in one part of trying to solve an equation, my teacher can help me. My fellow classmates can help me. So it's a lot more collaborative, a lot more, assisting others in the classroom. So you take this kind of before, this in class, which is up in the red, and the bottom, you get out of class, kind of like taking a look and assessing your checklist and your goals. Now, instead of saying in class and saying the flipped classroom, think about this in meeting. There's the before meeting, there's in the meeting, and then there's after a meeting. Now, I kind of want to go over some of these things that we can do in our faculty meeting or administrative meeting or whatever it might be that you're going to be involved in. So let's flip this. So let's use those flip mechanics and let's apply it to the meeting. So just like the classroom, we get our lecture stuff, quote unquote, first, and this is in the pre-meeting. So the meeting organizer can share the agenda with, questions, checklists, articles to read, decisions to be made, announcements the day before, for example. And this helps gets that quote unquote lecture part out of the meeting. And that I tend to think is the boring part out of the meeting. What if you polled your fellow instructors, they might say that's the part of the boring part of the meeting, and that gets it out. And it really doesn't. If you think about it, what part of that meeting, when you're in a faculty meeting, doesn't require everybody to stand around the table or sit around the table? Does someone reading a bunch of bullet points need everybody to come together? If not, take all those agenda bullet points and put them, in an agenda that you can send out the day before, or if it's on a Monday, you can send it out Friday over the weekend, or whatever timetable that you want to do. And so this is why we want to send that agenda out before we head to that meeting. So we send out the agenda before the meeting, and then the cool thing is now during the meeting, we have we have the reading of the agenda out of the way. And then now faculty members or staff members, whoever it might be, have a sufficient amount of time to, think about the questions, think about the decisions that are happening on the agenda. Otherwise, if you did a normal faculty meeting, or my normal faculty meeting in the past was, you get the agenda as you walk in the door, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of stuff on a page, and then you really have to make decisions like kind of on the fly. But if you do the flip meeting, you have all those questions and all those agenda items, all those decision-making things, and you have 24 hours or so to kind of really think about it. And so you're going to get better responses from everybody. You're going to get, better questions that are going to be asked in the faculty meeting, and you're going to have a sufficient amount of time to collaborate. There's a reason why we're gathering together in person. It's because we can, have this time to offer our difference of opinions, to offer suggestions, to voice our opinion. And there's a lot of time to do it instead of just trying to cram it in at the very end. And so, just like the flipped classroom, we can collaborate with each other. We can have these prepared ideas in mind, these prepared decisions and discussion topics, which is going to be huge. So when you think about doing a flipped meeting, it's taking the stuff that you really don't need to do in a group and putting it before the meeting, and then using the meeting time as a collaborative period where you can share ideas and share everything. All right. So you have before, you have during, and then the next step is you have after. Now, after the meeting is going to be very important because you want to make sure you do follow up on with the different people that might be doing things, with different tasks that were assigned, or check up on progress. You can do all those things to help out. So just because the meeting is over, just like you would in a flipped classroom, it's just not the end and we forget about it. You do have to follow up and keep people honest because they spent the time, maybe that 24 hours from the pre-meeting to the meeting, to think of some really great ideas, some really engaging questions. And there was a really good, discussion going on. And then if you cut it off, you're going to kind of demoralize the staff of not wanting to participate because like nothing really happens. So you want to make sure there is this after period after the meeting where you can, just go through and make the follow-ups, send out the minutes, for example, make sure the minutes are captured and you can send those out afterwards. Or just, again, let's check up on people or check up on the status of things. Now, a tip that was offered to me and was very good, and this worked out, was when they were trying to kind of get the idea started, what they wanted to do was send the meeting, 24 hours beforehand, like the day before. And a good tip, and I want to share this one, was trying to send out the meeting, like say in an email, pretty much always at the same time. So if it's like 8 o'clock the day before or 3 p.m. the day before, and then they use a different kind of email header. They would put it all in caps or put like asterisk, 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 pre-meeting, just so it captures someone's eye, especially when you first start out. You might have staff members or faculty members who aren't used to the process. So you want to make sure you, help them out a little bit. And so if I know I have a faculty meeting tomorrow, I'm expecting, the pre-meeting to come out today at 3 p.m. And so I'm looking at my email, whether I'm in class looking for it or after I teach, or if I'm at home and I'm on my phone or whatever, I know that Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so is going to send out the email, about 3 o'clock. I know to look for it because I want to see what's on the agenda for tomorrow and kind of prepare and stuff. So I thought that was a really good tip, was create some kind of unique email header and then try to send it out at the same time. I thought that was a great idea. So just a neat, I think, trick to do, and it kind of helps that progress because you don't want to be willy-nilly sending out the email because then people will miss it. I think that's the thing that people are afraid of. And what you have to do as the meeting organizer is keep people, honest and put, I don't say put the burden on them, but put the responsibility on that person. If you say you're going to do the email, definitely send it out at the same time and maybe offer reminders the first couple times you do it, because it is going to be something that's new, maybe what some people are not used to. This is the first time they've ever held a flip meeting in their life, and so it's going to be very different. But at the same time, it is up to the instructors. Hopefully you can, we hold our students to a high standard, I think, of checking, their grades, or checking their homework, or logging into the LMS, or whatever it might be. I think we can have the same, responsibility for each other and for the faculty members, and saying, just check your email the day before and kind of prepare for the meeting. And so when you come in, hopefully everybody has a grade. Then you're going to really tell who's not really prepared or who didn't check it out. And then, you can handle that as you wish at your own campus. But I think, given the responsibility of people checking it, I know it seems sometimes a little scary, or like, no one's going to check it. I don't think that's a good attitude to have, because I think everybody will check it, especially when it promotes this collaborating experience with everybody. It's not going to be that boring faculty meeting where it's Mr. Grimes, reading off my 5 announcements followed up by rules. Like, people can read. It's just like the students. You don't want to read word for word on your PowerPoint. Don't read word for word from the meeting, and offer this experience during the meeting, and you can have a good experience afterwards. Now, I also want to share, because I have a lot of awesome people here, and they share all kinds of cool ideas. So I wanted to share a couple ones, and these are the 3 big ones I thought was really neat. And again, you can tweak this however you want to. If you've never used Screencastify before, Screencastify is a way you can record your desktop and your audio. So right now I have my headphones plugged into my laptop. If I had Screencastify, I can open up a Google Chrome browser. So you need Google Chrome, and you can record what's on your desktop. So there is an administrator, or an academic dean, who would record her. She would put up her like Word document, and it was like a Google Doc or something, and then she would just talk about it. So not only did she share this kind of just page with somebody, or an email that had kind of the meeting agenda, or a document that was attached to it, she shared her own voice with it. And so it was like, this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Be sure to do this, this, and this. And that was really cool, because it just made it a little bit more appreciative by her staff, who could not only read it, but like hear it from her. Sometimes, just like our students, sometimes you hear something and it sounds a little bit more clear, or you get a clear idea for it. So it's really cool to use Screencastify, and it's a free program to maybe show the screen. Another person would show how to submit your final grades in the LMS, and they would just do a walkthrough, and they would record their desktop that way. And that was one of the things they wanted to show. So why would they put it in the meeting, and load up the overhead projector and try to connect, and then show this is how you submit final grades? Well, they just did it in that pre-meeting email, and she recorded her desktop and showed how to submit grades. And that was just one example I thought was really cool. Now the other one is called Video Notes. Now Video Notes is pretty slick. It's a way where, if you do use Google Docs, or use like the Google Drive or Google Apps, is that if you go to Video Notes, you can sync your notes to the video. So I had one administrator. He would share his video beforehand. He did a short video announcement, kind of like for the pre-meeting, as if he was standing in the meeting, but he did it beforehand. And he encouraged his staff members to use Video Notes to sync up their notes so they can prepare. So when the guy would send like a 5-minute pre-meeting agenda and would talk about it, and if you took notes on Video Notes, it would, if you saved it, it would say, okay, these are the notes you took at the 3-minute mark. These are the notes that you took at the 4-minute, 20-second mark. And so you can kind of go back and work on it. Oftentimes, the administrator too would just he would take his own notes, basically. He would record the video and then take his own notes and share that notes document with everybody. So that was kind of like the agenda notes in addition to the video. This person shared both, a written form and a video form, which was really cool. Again, take it as much as you want. There's no wrong way to do it. For me, I would start off pretty simple, and I like starting off, just to get everybody used to it, and just share a Word document or a PDF the day before. But if you love video and you have this outgoing personality and you really want to share it, or you think people could benefit from like doing a Screencastify, recording your desktop, definitely do that. But you can go super simple with an email, or you can get kind of more media rich with a Screencastify or Video Notes. And obviously, if you have Google Docs or Google Slides, that another academic dean said that she shared hers through Google Docs because people could write and add to that document and edit it. So when they had, the different bullet points or the outline, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there was a couple questions or a couple ideas, the other staff members, other faculty members could go and write in that document. And so by the time the meeting was held, 24 hours from now, there was a nice kind of good, not a blank agenda, but the agenda that was filled out that had questions so everybody else can prepare. And then that person who was leading the meeting, she can prepare as well because she knew what questions were going to be asked by her faculty members. So I thought that was a really cool idea to use this collaborative effort and kind of go above and beyond. I was just thinking simple email or maybe a document that you attach. And then some people took it like one step further and did it, media rich. And it depends. If you have a small staff, maybe it's okay if it's hard to get around to see everybody, or there's different campuses that you have to visit. Sometimes the video email is kind of nice to see, the academic dean or the campus president share the meeting agenda. So kind of cool. I really like that. And so you want to go to screencastify.com, and video notes is weird. It's a .es. It's like a different domain name than normal that we're used to, like a .com or .org, but it's videonotes.es. So it's basically video.es, but it's for video notes. If you have any trouble, just type in video notes as it looks like on the screen, like just into a Google search. It should come up pretty well. And what it will do is it will say, "Can I connect to your Google account?" And you say yes. And then you can paste in a URL, whether it's a YouTube URL, a Vimeo URL, a Google Drive URL, whoever's making the meetings, whoever records that video and they share it, whatever that URL is, you can paste it in there, and then you can retake your notes. So the cool thing is that I know this is kind of a neat thing, depending on what class you teach. This is a good kind of note-taking tool. If you do have a computer lab, your students can use this too. So just something really cool. And of course, Google Docs is something that you can sign up for. You can have a personal account for free. If you have a Gmail, you have the Google Drive. You go to drive.google.com, and you can have access to the document, or a slideshow was kind of neat. Someone did a slideshow. The Google Slides, because if you go to presenter mode, you can open up a section in presenter mode where you can ask questions, kind of like what we're doing right now, where you can go into that questions panel and on your control panel and ask questions in the webinar. You can ask questions on the slideshow in Google Slides. So one administrator, he would make a agenda, kind of like in a slideshow agenda, just a couple slides that have different points on it. And then he would open up that kind of questions panel in Google Slides and just leave it open. Once he opens it, he doesn't have to be actually in the program presenting it, but for 24 hours, people can post questions. And so that administrator would come back after, people posted it maybe the next morning and take a look at all the questions and be prepared to answer those, or prepared to, collaborate with everybody using Google Slides. So Google Slides with its kind of presenter mode questions, Google Docs with just the straight editing. If you share it with everybody, you can allow everybody to edit it if you want to. Video notes for synchronized note-taking with the video. And screencastify.com is the one where you can record your desktop and share a how-to video, or just record your agenda with your voice. It's kind of neat. So I did want to share those. I do appreciate everybody giving tips and stuff. These are tips that were found out from before when we were just I would join different groups and then we would talk about different ways we would do attendance meetings and stuff. All right. So that's the first part, is just doing a flip meeting. So taking the straightforward stuff and putting it before the meeting, 24 hours. Again, email, media, whatever you want to do, having the media or the meeting to collaborate with everybody, to offer opinions and use that full time to actually, why are we getting together? So we can exchange opinions, not just so we can sit in quiet and listen to somebody. And then of course, post, make sure you can follow up with everybody and keep everybody, honest and enthusiastic about, the things that they were doing in the meeting and pre-meeting, so the whole process can work out. So hopefully that's pretty interesting. I think it was kind of neat. Just looking for different ideas. So if you can do that, it's a cool thing. And the nice thing about this one, it does reclaim time. So what you might find out is that if you do a flip meeting, you might not even have to have a meeting at all, or you can make meetings a lot shorter, because the time that you need to answer questions, maybe there's only 4 questions you need to answer, or maybe 2 questions you need to answer. Everything else was just kind of like announcements and make sure you follow this policy or do that policy or whatever it is. You can maybe eliminate a whole meeting, or make an actual staff meeting or faculty meeting a lot shorter. And that's going to make a lot of happy teachers, because it's going to be kind of on point and it's going to be useful. So you get this reclaimed time. and the focus on working together, which is big. It's not everybody sitting together around the table eating pizza or donuts or whatever it might be, which is terrific because trust me, I am always game for eating in different meetings. But at the same time, I'd rather eat and collaborate with everybody and kind of solve problems live instead of just spending so much time just listening to somebody talk about items that I could probably read myself. So those are some of the key things I like to talk about for the kind of flip meetings. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, I would advise to start small and start simple at first, especially if you want to get your faculty members used to it, and then you can kind of go big. But if you want to make it really cool at the start, you can do that too. There's no wrong way to do it because I've seen it done starting small. I've seen some where they've done the videos and recorded the desktop and did the whole nine, and it was really cool. But just remember to kind of send that out at the same time and make that email subject line kind of different than everything else you would send so it doesn't get lost in the mix. All right, my next one is don't be difficult. And don't be don't be that guy, don't be that girl or lady, don't be that person basically. And taking a look at who are difficult people are, and trying to curb those difficult people and how to overcome sometimes when you run into difficult people in your team meetings, or who are on your team, whether it's the faculty team in general or it's maybe smaller teams that you would have throughout. Maybe there is like a smaller team of a group that does one thing in the school that maybe promotes student success, or one group that does something else. You might run into these difficult people. So what we want to do is we want to first make sure we're not that person, and sometimes it's you don't mean to be that person. I think back, sometimes you could have those days where you can appear a certain way. You just don't want to fall into the habit of being this person. And I'm sure everybody on this meeting, it's probably all the people who did not attend this meeting that we could look at. I'm very interested to see if anybody, I always like to see the people who are gathered together in a classroom right now. I know some of us are probably sitting in our office, maybe looking at the computer by ourselves. I like looking at the people who are in a big classroom, and then you see people looking around like, who's that person? And they're like kind of looking over their shoulder. I'm sure it's nobody, again, attending this meeting. It's everybody else who's not attending this meeting. But what we don't want to be is we don't want to be these type of people. And the main people I like to talk about are the bulldozer, and that's the person who basically has the shouting, the loudest wins attitude. Basically might makes right, and they always want to get their way. That's kind of a bulldozer. They kind of bulldoze you out of the way because they want to get what they want to do. The next one I have, which is cave person. Now I used to have it called the naysayer, and these are the people who always say no to things. But I ran into a campus president down in Kentucky, and he made me laugh out loud. So I actually LOL'd. And he said, cave people. And I go, what? I mean, they're not like, they're not like cavemen or anything else. But he said, CAVE stands for Citizens Against Virtually Everything. And it just made me laugh. Citizens against virtually everything. I go, you know what? I've experienced some of those people in my life where everything's just, no, it's not going to work. That's not going to do it. So those are the naysayers. The dilly-dallyer, that's the person who procrastinates. Anybody who like waits to the last second to do everything and maybe doesn't finish it on time. One interesting, difficult person is the sniper. The sniper is a person who likes to intimidate or demean others, and they like to make people feel like, I don't say like feel dumb or feel like that's a stupid idea. We call them snipers is because usually they're the quiet person in the meeting, and when someone comes up with a good idea, they snipe in with their mean bullet and try to get them, and then they don't say anything else for the rest of the meeting. The only input they give is, that's dumb, that's not going to work. And so those are the snipers with their mean bullets that sit in the background, kind of. The big leaguer is what it sounds like. They're always bright and they're always right. There's the smart person who thinks they have all the answers, everything, and they can do no wrong. They have this one track mind. And last but not least is the invisible person. So, I think it's easy to kind of maybe fall into this every once in a while, or maybe somebody who is one of these things. So I do want to cover quickly on what can you do if you run into one of these people, because what you don't want to do is let them thrive. If you let a difficult person thrive in your meetings, you let a difficult person thrive in the faculty, it really spreads. And so we want to combat this as best as possible, because we do want to create this kind of, where we can discuss and share things in the open and come up with good ideas, especially if we're doing the flip meeting. You want to encourage everybody to participate, but you're going to have people not want to participate because that guy's going to snipe you with some kind of smart aleck comment, or you're going to have these person who bulldoze and get their way. And so what we want to do is kind of curb these behaviors. And what we can do with the bulldozer is, what you want to do is stay strong. And I know it's tough because what they do is like to interrupt and kind of talk over you, and then you kind of get bulldozed over, and they just love seeing that. So what you don't want to do is, don't get bulldozed over. So don't back away from your position, and you want to make sure you hold your ground and stay strong. And the cool thing is stay cool, because the one thing a bulldozer person likes to do is see a person get emotional, get like flustered or angered, or just kind of feel intimidated, and they thrive off that thing. So what I always say is, stay strong, stay cool, and seek peace. Seek peace. If you ever think of saying, like, from my point of view, and what you're saying is, this is not the right answer, this is not the one be all answer, but from my point of view, so and so. Or you can tell them, I'd be more than happy to hear your feedback after mine, or after the presentation, etc. So for example, if you said, if you think soft skill rubrics should be introduced in classes, you might say, from my point of view, I think introducing soft skill rubrics in the class will be helpful because so and so and so and so. So you kind of seek the peace a little bit. You're not saying this is the end all be all. You're not trying to say this is the way it is. You're saying, from my point of view, and that kind of lets the bulldozer to back off a little bit, because they won't seem intimidated by you trying to get what you want, so they get what they want. So that's what a bulldozer is, and that's how to kind of combat one a little bit and try to make sure you can overcome them in meetings. Don't let them ruin you. Don't let them bulldozer you over. The next person is that cave person, that Citizens Against Virtually Everything person. And I would say let it go, and I won't even pretend to sing the song. I don't want to have everybody turn off their speakers, but let it go is basically, let the no person be as negative as he or she wants to be. And this kind of sounds weird at first, but what you can do is, what you don't want to do is, you don't want to strengthen this person by saying, it won't be so bad, it won't be like that, it won't be so hard. That does not help. So when some person says, no, don't do this, like, oh, it's not going to be that difficult, it won't be that hard, when you say that, that just makes them dig in a little deeper. So let them say their piece. It's not going to hurt when they say their whole piece, and you can say, you appreciate that opinion, this is what I think, and so on. So just let it go. And then what you can do is, I say, do it first. What I like to do when I run into a person who's a cave person, I recommend people kind of, bring up the negative stuff first. I know, implementing soft skill rubrics in the classroom is going to be a lot of work up front, but man, it's going to pay off later on. So I'm already saying, it's going to be a lot of work. So that person can't interject me and say it's going to be a lot of work, because I just said it. So what I try to do is think of ways that, someone might say no, or I think of the opposite perspective. I think it will be a great idea to introduce soft skill rubrics in the class. What would someone who would be opposite me, what would they think? It'd be too much, hassle. It would be hard to grade. I don't have time to do this. And I would combat that. I go, I know we're busy as faculty members, and this is why it won't take you that much time. And so I'm thinking of those things first. So I do it first. And then I just say, open it up. If someone says that's a stupid idea, I always say, when you think of a solution, get back to me then. Or, I would be, why don't you think about this for a little while and get back to me? I always just say, throw it back to them, because usually a person who is a naysayer, they just like to say no, but don't have any real solutions. But I like to at least offer it to them, because maybe they do. But if I keep offering it to them, usually they get the drift, and they stop, being the cave person to me and to my staff and faculty members. So, if you're a person who's an academic dean or you're an administrator, you really have to kind of keep these people in mind, because you have the most power to kind of step up and say it, or you might feel the most comfortable, or the most, the opportune person to. But if you're a person who's talking, don't back down from the bulldozer, and, don't get discouraged by the naysayer, or don't interrupt the naysayer. Let them say their piece and go on. The dilly-dallyer. So this is the person who is a procrastinator. So if you have a procrastinator on your team, there's a couple things you can do. And the first thing is create short-term goals. Sometimes when we work on projects together, we have to revamp a syllabus, for example. Well, that's a pretty large project. So what we do is we try to create mini goals, and let's revamp week 1 first. And let's do it by Friday. And we'll do week 2 by next Thursday, and so on. And so when you create these mini goals, one, you keep that person in check, because you can check, and there's these mini deadlines, so they can't put everything off 4 weeks from now and say, oh man, I haven't done any of the weeks. So, create these mini goals, and that should help that dilly-dallyer along, and it helps you kind of keep track of that person. You also want to create consequences, and this is important because what we've run into before is that, what if a person procrastinates and doesn't finish it or does it the last second? That's kind of haphazardly done. And if nothing's done, why would they change that behavior? They know they can wait till the last second, pound out a syllabus in over the weekend or something, and no one says anything different. And it's not great quality, but man, I'm just glad, Mr. Grimes just got it done. He's just more hassle than a worth. You're just kind of rewarding that behavior. So you want to make sure you don't, go through, with not having consequences. So that's the deal there. So at first you got the bulldozer, the person who kind of runs you over, who just likes to speak the loudest. You're talking and you're giving your piece, and they just talk a little bit louder than you, and kind of bulldoze you out of the way. You got the cave person, the naysayer, the citizens against virtually everything, and then you got the dilly daller, the procrastinator, who's trying to maybe hamper that teamwork from going forward and reaching your goals. I did mention the sniper too at the start, so I just want to cover the sniper because this one is one of those people I think is um, kind of like a naysayer, is that they're, or a cave person, is they're more of a negative person in a meeting or in a team. So you want to avoid these people kind of taking over and running the show. And again, a sniper is, think about, I'm like, what would be a great idea if we can introduce soft skills into our classroom. And I think we should do rubrics. And again, sniper comes out of nowhere. Just think of a sniper rising up a little bit, snipes in that mean bullet at me and says, that's the dumbest thing they ever heard. And they kind of quietly go back down and hit in the distance like a sniper. But what I say is, stay strong. Don't get flustered by those people. Again, it's very easy because it's easy to take things personally by these type of difficult people in a team setting. But what I say is zero in. So when I say zero in, I mean don't keep talking. Don't ignore the sniper. Just like you would if you're trying to find the sniper in the distance, kind of like a Where's Waldo type of thing, you would zero in on them. Don't keep talking. Stop talking. And even in the middle of a sentence or in the middle of a word, bring all your activity and all your focus to a standstill and, bring it to the sniper. And then you want to use the searchlight. And using the searchlight is, what I would say is I would stop what I was saying. And, I was talking about, maybe introducing syllabi or introducing soft skills into the classroom with the rubrics. And someone said that was really stupid. I would just stop what I was saying exactly when that person said that was stupid, turn to that person, and then I would use the searchlight and say, when you say that, what are you really trying to say? And what you're going to have is a person going, well, and they're going to stumble because they've been ignored all their life, and they like saying that's dumb, that's stupid, and no one really challenges them or stops. No one zeroes in on them and uses the searchlight. So I say, what, don't encourage them, because what they like to do is say their comment, and usually the team kind of keeps on rolling, and then he chuckles to himself or she chuckles to himself, and it goes on, and that person gets a thrill. But what they don't like is when all the tension's on the sniper, and then you're saying, well, what do you mean by that was stupid? And you actually might get a good response out of that. And, well, when I mean stupid, I just meant, it's going to be very difficult to, institute into classes. And you go, oh, it's a great point. Well, and then you could kind of have a good professional discussion on that. But what you did was, that person thought it was stupid, but they had to elaborate on it. So that's kind of a positive way to take it. The worst way you could take it is someone says that's stupid, they're just going to say, never mind, and hopefully they'll stop that behavior because you keep zeroing in on them and you keep using the searchlight. So if you have that person in your team, again, don't encourage that type of behavior. Stop what you're saying, put the searchlight on them, zero in on them, and you should curb that type of behavior. That way your team could move forward with reaching your goals or reaching what you need to do without having these negative people affect, this kind of rapport, this environment, this climate you have in your school and your faculty members. I like this one. This one is the big leaguer. This person, is uses their wits and their knowledge against you. Well, in 2016, there was a study done that said soft skills was not important because et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so they might have a lot of information. So what you need to do is arm yourself and come prepared to the meeting. So if you have this person in your team, make sure you come prepared. You just have to do a little extra homework. And I say, just know your facts, come well prepared. And you can soften the blow too by using words like, I always say, bear with me for a moment, because I know this person's not going to be up to, what I'm doing. But I say, bear with me a moment. And that person does, that kind of just makes them sit back and relax a little bit. So I'll say, bear with me for a moment. I I really believe soft skills should be put into the classroom through rubrics, and then I can explain why. If I don't say bear with me for a moment, I go I think soft skills should be put in a rubric, and then they spout off some facts that of why it shouldn't. So I always just soften the blow by using words like maybe or perhaps or bear with me for a moment. Those kind of words, those kind of phrases help soften the blow. And the last one there is make a mentor. I think if you can't beat them, join them. I don't say be a big leaguer yourself, but I would recommend going to this person and asking that person's opinion before the faculty meeting when you're discussing things. I'm thinking about, I'm really anxious or I really want to do the soft skills in the classroom. What do you see as challenges and stuff? And when that person brings up, like, okay, great, 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 and you go into the staff meeting or the faculty meeting, and you use that person, like, I collaborated with this so and so, and because that person wants to be known as the person who knows a lot of stuff, and so you're actually rewarding that person for knowing a lot of stuff, but you're actually helping yourself and your teammates out because you are softening the blow, and you're making that person kind of a mentor, so that person doesn't see you as a threat. Oh, who's this other person who knows a lot of facts? Through all this data. Well, you're not a threat anymore. You're with that mentor. You're using that person as a mentor or a friend, and that will help the cause through everybody. So for that big leader, come prepared with your own facts. Just don't come in and say I want to do it because I feel like it's the best thing to do. You might need to come in with some extra facts. Make sure you soften the blow. And again, those words are, and I like to use bear with me for a moment here. Now think about if I was saying it to you, like, bear with me for a moment here. I think this is going to be a great idea. You'd probably give me the chance to explain myself a little bit more than I would if I just kind of blurted it out, especially if you're a big leaguer. And then, use words like maybe or perhaps, maybe this can be helpful because this way, or perhaps if we did it this way, we can succeed. So that's what, you can do to curb that big leaguer to help you and your team out and be more successful. And you can, especially again, if you flip the classroom, you're going to have a lot of time. We're going to offer this environment where you're going to discuss things. Some of these difficult people really shine in those type of environments because that's what they thrive on, is kind of being one of these types of people. The last person I want to mention is the invisible person. And the invisible person, they like to just kind of go with the flow. You don't even know they're there. Later on the day, I go, was Miss So and So here today? I can't remember. Or was Mister So and So was here, right? And I'm trying to remember if that person, because they didn't say anything at all. They kind of just like slid in the doorway, listened to everything, and they kind of just faded away. you know. And so what we can do with the invisible people is, I think it's easy to ignore them because you're like, yeah, they're not really too negative on anything. They're not like interrupting me. They're not talking over me. They're not sniping me with their mean words and phrases. So yeah, no big deal. But at the same time, you want to encourage the invisible people to participate, especially if you do a flipped type of meeting and you do want to collaborate with everybody, even if you don't, you want to offer everybody's opinion on things, because what happens is the invisible person won't say anything until after the fact when you made a decision. It's like a person who might not vote or something. Let's vote on which soda or which pop we should bring to the meeting. Everybody picks Diet Coke. Well, I don't like Diet Coke. Well, you didn't say anything. I didn't know. So it's that type of mentality you're going to have with these invisible people. So they might not bother you at the meeting, but you might hear from these difficult people. They might be difficult after the meeting. So what you can do is really offer open-ended questions and do those kind of flip meetings where they have some time to think about it. Maybe they don't want to say it in person, so they can write it on that pre-agenda that you send out, or maybe they could come prepared. And so maybe you have another difficult person that makes that person feel invisible because that person always talks over. Well, if I could come prepared and have facts and spend 24 hours getting my opinions and my thoughts kind of ready, then that might help that person out. So open-ended questions, or offer this time where they can feel more confident in their answers. And then you might help them out and say, what, if you had to guess what you would do or how you would feel towards having to create a rubric for soft skills, what would you say? Kind of help them out. Don't say this is because what they're afraid of is making the wrong opinion sometimes. If they have no opinion, then they have no wrong answers. So if they have an opinion, they could have a wrong answer. So I say just go with your guess. What does your gut say, or what do you think would happen? Go with your guess. And last but not least, I would say, again, offer consequences. Sometimes these people don't know. I said, I really don't want you to regret us going. I don't want you to regret us instituting, soft skill rubrics in the classroom. And I really just want to get your opinion because, I know you'll have some good thoughts about this. And and if you don't say anything, then we don't know what we don't know. And so there's going to be a consequence. If you don't really like something, you didn't speak up about it. And so just try to talk to that person. Sometimes you do have to have a difficult conversation with somebody. And again, if you're a point person, whether it's an academic dean, a campus president, a program coordinator, somebody, that usually falls on you a little bit more than it would a fellow faculty member. It just the way the structure is in the school, that's going to be a little bit more helpful. So those are the difficult people. So what you want to do is, just making sure that you have, a plan of action not to be these people and a plan of action to kind of curb this type of behavior into your classroom, because you don't want to, or in the classroom in your building actually, is you don't want these people to thrive. And there's a good reason for this. And I want to show this one chart here. And this is kind of a general makeup of any one of our schools right now. And so you have on one end of the spectrum, you have like these superstar teachers, like, you know who they are. Maybe they're you, but that one person who just really connects with the students. They have all the cool stuff and they do really neat things in the classroom. And they really, bring out the best in all students. And they're awesome. If we lost them, man, it'd be really hard to replace that person, like very difficult. We would really feel it. Then we have on the opposite end of the spectrum is the difficult people we just talked about. And then a lot of us are going to fit somewhere in the middle to these VIP people. Like, we're doing excellent work in our classroom. We're not like superstar material, but we're doing a heck of a job. And the most important part is, if you look at it in the middle, is that the middle people are going to fall to the left or they're going to fall to the right. Because if you have people who are negative, who are always saying that's a dumb idea, or they're in the faculty lounge saying, this student does this and it's negative, 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 they kind of get people to gravitate towards them. And if you have positive people who are always like, that's a great idea, we should really do this, we're going to really help the students, we're going to have a lot of success doing this, they're going to gravitate, some people towards them. And there's a balancing act that's going to happen at your campus, is that you don't want too many people going to the right here, to the difficult people, and not enough going to the superstars. And so you really have to ask yourself sometimes and take a step back and don't fall into the trap of, being too negative or joining the negative crowd. Think about, whose team do you want to be on? Who do you want support? Do you want to support the VIPs and the superstars? Are you supporting the difficult people? And so you want to make sure, which way you fall. And I think a lot of us will fall in the middle-ish somewhere, maybe one in the spectrum might be more superstar than not. But it's going to be very important to fall towards the positive than the negative, because if you ever think about it, negative people kind of bring about other negative people. If you ever see them, again, hopefully they're not in your faculty lounge, or they're not they're not a certain department or something. But if you have one negative person, it spreads. Just like how somebody's positive and upbeat, that spreads too. So you have these two kind of factors going on, and you want to make sure you're not allowing that difficult factor to spread and grow. And you can do that by not becoming one of those people. And you can do that by curbing the behavior of those people. If a person's a sniper, stopping them and zeroing in on them and using your searchlight and taking a look at that person, saying, what do you really mean by that? That's going to curb that type of behavior. So just keep that in mind. I think that's kind of a general statement for all our schools, but hopefully you can take a look and say, okay, I know who my superstars are. I know who my difficult people are. Of course, they're not on this webinar, but and who, which way is our campus leaning at the moment? Sometimes the campus climate, when it falters a little bit, it's because they have this core group of difficult people and they're allowed to thrive. You don't want that to happen. All right, so wrap it all up here, because I think we're closing into the last quarter here, is that I want to share a poem with you. And I say that because, and knowing that my high school English teacher probably just fainted somewhere. But I really do want to share a poem with you. And it's a play off of the blame game poem that we might have seen before. And the blame game poem says, and I'll just kind of summarize here a little bit, but, the career management director said, such wrong in the student is a shame. The lack of preparation in the program is to blame. And then you go with the next person, said the faculty member, good heavens, that student is a fool. The fault, of course, is with admissions, not with the classes of the school. And the admissions rep said, from such foolishness may I be spared. The high school sent them over to me, so unprepared. And so what you have here is kind of the blame game. It's always not our fault, it's somebody else. And, you might see this at some schools or at your own school. You think about like, you get these people, these students in your class, and you're like, where are these admissions people, pulling them from? One of my really good friends was worked in admissions, and I jokingly said, where are you getting, where are you getting all these students from? It just seemed like there was like just like this rough thing, but I think the cool thing is that I think that's our secret sauce is that why students don't go somewhere else and they go to your school and they go to career schools is because we offer that extra care that we talked about in a previous webinar. But if you in general, we offer this kind of helping hand, this guidance towards the students, and we actually do care. So I want to make sure we don't stick with this blame game, and we can actually collaborate with one another. So when I was talking with my buddy about jokingly saying, I can't, where are you getting these people at? I just seem, and of course it was like, the people who enrolled, I'd be like, oh, it's this person right here, this guy right here was enrolling. I'm like, of course, so I was just ribbing him a little bit. But at the same time, he was my best ally in preparing for students, and it happened because what we did was we started to integrate our teams. So faculty or the academics integrated with the admissions, and admissions integrated with us, and so did the career department. So we all partook in other people's meetings. So I would sit in admissions meetings sometimes. I would sit in a career planning meeting sometimes. And then sometimes the admissions rep would come in and sit in a faculty meeting sometimes. So we had this kind of system worked out where we weren't just siloed off. And because sometimes I think you don't, if you polled some of your newer teachers, especially, and say, what does admissions do here? They might not even know the admissions people's names. And they might not know what they really do. And we found that to be a cause in some places. So we just try to integrate the different teams together. And I don't know if you do this to all the way or not, or if you do it sometimes, but you're going to see real good benefits for it. So I always invite admissions to our faculty meetings. And what happened was what I found out was that our admissions reps really knew our students. They're the first people who really get to know our students. And so they could come to me, and I learned that some students in my class, what their hurdles might be. They have unreliable transportation. This person has to take care of her grandmother. This person is really struggling because they get a lot of hours at work, and so they're going to go back and forth between work and stuff. And it's nice to know that up front. And again, they know all this stuff, and they know the kids that they have, so I can kind of establish that rapport with my students a little bit faster. When I talk to my admissions rep, they know they have two kids. One is 4, one's 6. One likes the Pittsburgh Steelers, one likes the Cleveland Browns, or whatever it might be. There's this kind of knowledge that our admissions people have that I don't have, but that I could get right off the bat. And it was just foolish of me not to do it. When I was an academic dean at the college I taught at, I had to actually attend a regional admissions training. And so I had to get the binder, I had to get my scripts, I had to do homework, and I role played. And at first I was like, man, why am I doing this? But about halfway through that first day, I was realizing this is so cool to know what they do, and I think this can help. And we started integrating a little bit more. And same thing with the career management department, bringing the career management officer in and coming in and helping, especially if we're talking about soft skills or something they can help us in. This is what they're seeing that some of our students are lacking, or what the business people are saying. So we can kind of work together and collaborate on ways we can improve our own classes by having an outside perspective. So we have an outside perspective from career, we have an outside perspective of admissions, and so on. And so it's kind of neat to have these outside perspectives on it. We also invited the admissions officers to sit. I offered him to come sit in my classes. Sometimes it's nice for the students to know who have that rapport with their admissions rep, to see them still. It's not like they hand us off and they're gone forever in the ether. They're still there. The admissions rep come in and says, I just want to check on your progress. How you're doing, Mr. Grimes says, you're getting A's. That's awesome. And so they like that kind of caring that they see. It's not segmented. It's not like, oh, admissions only cares for me until I get punted over to academics, and academics only cares about me until I get punted over to career. It's this full circle caring, this holistic caring that you can display if you invite, maybe admissions rep or the career management director to come, sit in my class for a day, and they kind of see that that teamwork built on, and that's going to affect the students as well. The other thing I want to mention, I said you could go back and forth. So program coordinators, going to an appointment. I used to sit in on admission appointments sometimes just to say, hey, I'm the academic dean, or you get one of your star teachers going in there and saying, oh, this is the person who's going to be in the business program. This one's going to be in the design program, or whatever it might be. Having that person sit on it, and then having that perspective and understanding what is involved in the admissions meeting. I didn't know all the steps that were involved and how financial aid, worked with them. It was just kind of an eye-opening experience that helped me understand their department better. And that made me, help them as we help each other, have our students succeed. It's not just only succeeding in the academic end, but succeeding, from admissions to academics to career. And so we're working together. So that was really cool. One school that I got to talk to is they do kind of like a career or like a student exchange program. And what they do is they would send their program coordinators or a teacher over to, to a different school if you happen to have a different, campus somewhere. If you don't have a different campus, it's sending like a teacher to a different classroom. Just to kind of get that different perspective. Sometimes we don't know what's down the hallway. And so that really opens up our eyes. And it's really neat to see that. I thought sending, a program coordinator or a admissions person to another campus was kind of neat because we all should be doing the same thing, but we find out there's little things that we do a little bit differently. And sometimes like, oh, I never thought about that. And you learn so many neat tricks if you were able to do that. So one campus would send their admissions rep, and then another one would send their admissions rep, and then they got to do it. Or we'd switch academic deans for a day, just to kind of see how things worked out. And it's very eye-opening. So if you have the potential, you might want to think about that and kind of discuss that with the team. If you can have teachers maybe sit in other classes if you don't already, that's very helpful. Not only having someone who's coming aboard as a new teacher sit in the classroom, but sometimes having a general education teacher sit in in a mechanics class or something, and then they realize, what, they do a lot of measurements. I can try to work in some real world examples into my general ed math class. And so we found out different positives that happened when we kind of sprinkled people through different departments, or we sprinkled people at different campuses, or even sprinkled them through different classrooms. So if you don't do that, I highly recommend starting out, again, start off small. And then see what happens and see if you see any positive results. And hopefully you kind of see this whole perspective change a little bit because you're kind of opening up their eyes. So as we come to a close here, I do want to have enough time to answer any questions. My email, again, david.grimes@cyanna.com, cyanna.com. Feel free to shoot me any questions if you don't have a chance to shoot them right now. You can email me anytime you want to. I will be back on here on Thursday for our final one, our Valentine's Day special, about the many hats that we wear and what can we do to prepare for all those hats, and kind of what is expected of us from the student's point of view. I think it's kind of a cool one to end on. So if you want to sign up to that one, go to hccsc.org and you can sign up for that fourth one. In the meantime, I do want to answer a lot of questions, but at the same time, I don't want to keep anybody on longer than they want to. So that is it for this webinar. I appreciate you joining me on ways that we could kind of promote teamwork so we can reach our institutional goals, our program goals, and of course the goals for our students to graduate from our schools into a career of their choice. I think that's what we are all striving for. And we can do that by maybe flipping our meeting. We can do that by mitigating the difficult people that kind of pop up in our teams. And we can do that too by just making sure there is this diversity, this kind of cross-departmental integration into the different meetings. And that's those three things. I think if you could do one of those things first and kind of do maybe two, then three, you will see some really good results come out from this. So hopefully you take away one or two things that you can pick up. And I appreciate you. If you have any questions, again, david.grimes@cyanna.com. And I will say that concludes it. I appreciate your time joining me today. I always do. And I always love to talk to fellow educators out there. It's always a fun thing to share. So make sure you do share any great ideas with me in the chat or afterwards. I'd be more than happy to kind of share that with everybody else if I can. So thank you so much. And I'll start answering some questions. Yeah, actually, there's a lot of people who said there's all kinds of different types of difficult people. I know I was trying to pick the most common ones that propped up when I do chat with fellow educators. There's going to be the people who think only about themselves and so on. And there's different ways to deal with them. I could probably and I do have one that deals with the difficult people, like a whole webinar series on that one, because there's just so many ways that they kind of just pop up. And in an opportune world, I think it's easy to say, you know what, I'm going to hire the best people and they're all going to excel and there's not going to be any difficult people. But in the real world, sometimes things happen or things change and we do get a difficult person. And maybe it's not always a difficult person, maybe it's a difficult person and until a little bit. Sometimes they don't know the difficult person until you actually tell them, and so that's a way to figure it out. But there are so many difficult people, and I wish I could cover them all. So I'm just looking through all the different comments here, all kinds of great ones. And then again, we will share this webinar at the very end. What I'm going to do is after I sign off here, I usually convert it into an MP4 file that I share with Chris Lambert at accsc.org, and he uses his team, and we try to collaborate to make sure we share this on the website. Give us a day or so to post that. Sometimes it takes a little while I want to convert this, and it takes a little while to convert and then upload and so on. At the same time, I like to save my slide deck as a PDF file so you can view it on a Mac or PC. I use Keynote, so you can't view it easily if you have a PC. So I like to save as a PDF, and we'll share all that with a certificate of completion here up on the website. So if you can't grab it today, just check back. But by Thursday, I'll let everybody know on that webinar. So I'll kind of give everybody a reminder to say, hey, it's probably up there. Usually by the next webinar, it's already up there. But keep checking up that on the website, accsc.org. You want to go to events and then go to webinars. And if you go to events and webinars, you'll see the past ones that we have, and you'll see this one populate with the new links. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. A lot of cool things. Yeah, so like again, difficult faculty members, ones who are always right. That's kind of like the bulldozer person. When we're talking about person who's always right. The person who is they always have the best one. It's kind of like either a bulldozer or a big leaguer. And the bulldozer is you just don't. They like bulldozing over people, so you try not to let them bulldozer over you or others. And so that thing is, again, just staying strong and staying cool and seeking peace. I always like to preference things. These are soft ways to do it. First, you might have a bigger problem at hand, but at first, I like to say, from my point of view, or I'd be more happy to hear your feedback after I give mine. And stand up to that person, because again, they might not know they're basically being a jerk to you until you kind of call them out. And so I have no problem doing that. I know some other people don't like that type of atmosphere or confrontation, and that's okay. But that's going to lean on towards whoever's running the meeting, the academic dean, the campus president, or whoever, to kind of realize these situations. So if you are as an administrator, it's kind of important to know if you can pick who the difficult people are sometimes in your team, and try to pinpoint what kind of difficult person they are. You can help your faculty members, you can help your staff members kind of cope or handle different situations. So thank you very much. All right, thank you. Good questions, a lot of good ones. Yeah, okay, good. I see a lot of great stuff. Thank you, everybody. Everybody said answered your question. Thanks. Sorry about the audio. Some people said the audio were cutting out. I'm not sure. My audio says green on my end. Of course, I did have a fire truck run past me a little bit ago, halfway through I saw. So hopefully that didn't disrupt it too much. And when we're talking about these difficult people, it could be anybody. So in this scenario, I was talking about different teammates, because we're talking about like teams and how to succeed in our teams. So I was focusing more on the different faculty, or different faculty members, different staff members. I know there's difficult students. They may fit into this one. If I don't know if Christine is still here or not, send me an email, Christine. I do have a presentation about difficult students. So one that's all about just difficult students and how to help these difficult students and help yourself with these difficult students. So definitely reach out if you're interested in dealing with difficult students. I'll be more than happy to share that presentation with you. And if any questions, you can let me know. But you might see some of the same type of behaviors from students and faculty members. So very good. I think that is everything. I want to just give good stuff. Hey, Michael from Ohio Tech. All right, it's my neighbor up in the Cleveland area. I'm glad you guys are on. I hopefully I could come up and visit you guys. You guys have a sweet campus. So thank you, Michael. I like seeing people in my neighborhood. I also like seeing people who live in like Florida and California because right now it's a dreary. Actually, it's not too bad out. It's like we're up in the 40s today, but it's been just raining all the time. So I always like to see and envision myself at your campus where it's nice and sunny or something. All right. Difficult. Oh, Roseanne. Yep. If you want difficult students, just send me an email. I am traveling a little bit today after this meeting, so I might not get back to you too late tonight or tomorrow morning. But shoot me an email so I don't forget. I'm trying to jot notes down, but I don't want to like write down Roseanne and I figure out there's like 20 Roseannes in the that have the same last initial. I just can't read my handwriting. So if you can send me a email that says I'd be interested in the difficult students, I'll be more than happy to share that with you. Um, and hopefully again thank you. I hopefully like the idea of flipping the classroom too is kind of cool. Is if you have not seen that, definitely Google that. There's a lot of information on there. But flipping the classroom and flipping the meetings, kind of a neat way to give more time for that teamwork and that discussion to happen in class. When I think about your students who work late often, who juggle being a parent, working and school among other things, if they go home and they do your homework assignment and they get stuck, what happens? You're not going to get back to them within 5 seconds. You might, maybe if they catch you on an email or text you. But usually if they get stuck, they get stuck. And when they do, they come in, they don't turn in their homework and they didn't finish it. And so they get points docked. But if they're doing like the homework in your class, then you can help them, or your fellow classmates, their fellow classmates can help them. So it's kind of cool. So that's kind of a neat way to, just offer that flipped atmosphere. All right, I think that is it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna sign off here in a moment. I'll make sure to save the presentation and my slide deck to you guys. And again, check on the website accsc.org, events and webinars, the slide deck, the video of the webinar, my screen right here, as well as the certificate of attendance will be there. I will try to remind myself, well, I will remind myself to remind Chris if he's not on the webinar right now to maybe save it as a doc file for everybody. I know there's a PDF. I know a doc file is just easier to work with. I think the last one we did the first one as a PDF, the second one was a doc, so now we're back to PDF. But I think we'll do the next. I think we'll try to save as a doc on the website because I know that for me that's a little bit easier to edit and save and stuff. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time, and we got one more left, so I can't wait to do the next one. Although it's a bittersweet ending because it's our last one of the series, but I do look forward to everybody, and I appreciate the ones that especially have come up to me in the webinar 3 times so far. So hopefully we can make it a 4-peat here on Thursday. So look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday. And until then, have a terrific week. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you talking and chat with me over in the question areas too. So thank you so much.